say that I am about to launch a series called Adulting 101. I've been online for quite some years, and I've noticed that there is a common theme in which a lot of people are not either prepared, or they're not excited, or they're not equipped to be an adult. And I am one who don't really believe in circulating problems. I actually believe in providing solutions, right? And so with that being said, this is a great series for any age group, but this is more, I would say, more of a mature series. And so if you are a young adult, or if you are a teenager, maybe 16, 15, 16, or if you are an older adult, because what we're going to discover today is that being an adult has nothing to do with age. So if you are an older adult, let's say in your 30s or in your 40s, I really think this is a great series for you. I would not only ask that you tune in with us every time we're live during the series, but I would also ask that you share it with your friends and your family who you believe can benefit from just getting some practical advice about what it means to be an adult and how we can effectively win in adulthood, right? There was a meme circulating not too long ago where it says the worst hood in the world is adulthood, is real ghetto, right? And it's a joke, and I laugh at it, but I also know that a lot of people do feel like that. And so instead of continuing rather to promote that type of messaging, I figured it would be awesome and great if we can do a series on adulthood. So rock with Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday Experience. I am Pastor Lawrence Souffrant. I will be your host for the day. Listen, if you haven't already, please text LSMin to 25251 24251 so that you can join our text group. Also, if you feel led to donate to the ministry, you can go to www.lawrencesouffrant.com to donate, or you can go to Cash App, $LAWSOU, and you can donate in that way. I want to say happy Sabbath to those of you who believe in the Sabbath. Happy Friday to those of you who do not. How you doing, Mom? It's good to see you. Happy Sabbath. Glad you're able to make it um, on tonight for tonight's Friday experience. We are continuing with our series, Adulting 101, which I believe has been really a great series. So if you have not seen some of the older episodes, I would strongly suggest that you go check them out and get some of this wisdom, some of this counsel. Today, we're going to be talking about giving into your emotions. I'm going to read a text for you found in Proverbs chapter 28, verse 26. And I'm actually going to read it in the King James Version. I rarely use the King James. I'm going to read it in the King James Version, where it says, "He that trusts in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered." Now I'm going to read it in the New American Standard Version, which is very similar. "He who trusts in his own heart is a fool, but one who walks wisely will flee to safety," right? And some say delivered. You'll notice, though, if you study in some other translations, how it reads is "he who trusts in himself." And I want to be the first to tell you that that is an error. It should not read, "He who trusts in himself is a fool." And the reason why they translate it as "he who trusts in himself is a fool," because this word heart typically at times means that inner self, that core person. Um, However, that word heart in context also means the seat of emotions. Now, there is an agenda, if you will, from a particular branch of Christianity that really wants to keep you in a place of feeling disgusted, feeling that you are untrustworthy, making you feel as if there is no good in you. It keeps you there even after you have made a decision to walk in righteousness. It keeps you there even after you made a decision to walk with the Messiah. But the reality is, when we give our life to the Messiah, when we decide to walk in righteousness, we're no longer untrustworthy. We're no longer disgusting, but we do have emotions. And sometimes we might have the tendency to give into our emotions because of the power and the strength that they have on us. And so today, I kind of want to talk a little bit about that, because the one who gives into his emotions, the scripture says, is a fool. You walk as a fool. And a lot of us, that might sound like harsh language to consider someone a fool to give into their emotions. But some of us, I think, we have enough life experience to understand even the wisdom in that counsel, in recognizing that sometimes our emotions get us in messed up situations. I mean, who can be honest on today and really just say, yeah, sometimes when I give into how I feel, I find myself making the situation worse. But when I give into how I feel, I find myself in areas that I had no business being in, only because I didn't take time to think about the most wisest way to approach the situation. And so when you give into your emotions, you find yourself acting foolish. Now, let me be clear. I want this to be comprehensive. I want to make sure that we're really dealing with this thing. This is not to say that emotions are evil. It's not to say that emotions are wicked. This is not to say that emotions are useless. I don't want anybody leaving this discussion with that understanding as if emotions are bad. Emotions are not bad. What I always say is emotions are not bad, but they're bad leaders. Right? When you allow your emotions to be the decision maker of your life, that's when you find yourself in foolish scenarios. Emotions are nothing more than your internal response to whatever's happening. Emotions, actually, I'll give you a better definition. Emotions are internal responses to external stimuli. Emotions are internal responses to external or internal stimuli, meaning when something happens, when you encounter something, you might respond emotionally, and all that emotion is telling you is how you feel about whatever's happening. Emotions are subjective intelligence. They're facts from a subjective perspective. You truly felt hurt. You truly felt happy. You truly felt love. You truly felt anger. Whatever you feel, it is real and it is true from a subjective perspective, meaning this is actually happening inside of you. The problem is when we take our emotions and we use them as objective filters. Oh, I need y'all to hear me. The issue is when emotions now become the filter in which we determine what is real and what is fake, right? The issue is when emotions become the determining factor as to what is holy and what is wicked. The issue is when emotions become the determining factor of what is right and what is wrong. Because the reality is our emotions can change, our emotions can shift, our emotions are able to be manipulated. Somebody say manipulated. And so when you're dealing with emotions, you want to be careful to not allow your emotions to lead in the situation. You want your emotions, you want to pay attention to what your emotions are saying so that you get better insight about who you are. But you don't want your emotions to lead in the situation because emotions rarely ever consider the full picture. All right. So as an adult, right, this is adulting 101. It is vitally important to be a functional and even thriving adult that you learn how to get a handle on your emotions. What do I mean? What do I mean by getting a handle on your emotions? That's not to say that you have to learn how to suppress them, nor is it to say that you have to learn how to not feel. These are not the goals. You, as a human being, you must feel. You will feel. And it is okay to feel. In fact, it is a very dangerous state when you no longer feel anything. You are finding yourself moving into danger, into toxicity. And so you should feel, you ought to feel. Feeling is a good thing, but you want to learn how to get a handle in your emotions, meaning I can feel what I feel, but I will not allow my feelings to determine how I will respond. And I think this is where a lot of us can use some work. We cussing people out we have no business cussing out. We fighting people we have no business fighting. We're laying with people we have no business laying with. We're giving to people we have no business giving to. So many people have put themselves in a least convenient situation because of emotion. So how does this work? Well, we all have impulses, right? Somebody say impulse. Impulse. Impulses is what we do automatically. Our impulses is like a derivative of our instincts. Our instincts is our primal sense of reality. And so our instincts will kick in. The issue with instincts, though, is that once again, they're primal. And so some of the trauma gets passed down to us. Can I just teach for a little while? I don't want to bore anybody, but I think you kind of need to get this information, right? With our primal instincts, our meaning this generation's instincts is influenced by the traumas and the experiences of the ancestors before us. And so our genetic makeup has influenced how our instincts work. And so there are times where we see danger where there is no danger, and we see love where there is no love, because we are responding similar to the way that our ancestors have responded. So this is why some of you have irrational phobias, irrational fears about certain things. Is not because of you, but because of something that your ancestors have experienced in the past that has now allowed your genetic makeup to be convinced that certain things are dangerous. I need y'all to get this is going to set somebody free. And so a lot of times our impulses are responses to the trauma of the past. Not just our past, but our family past, our family history, right? We are responding impulsively to the issues that our family had or the prosperity. It goes both ways. So there are places where we feel safe because our ancestors felt safe there. right? But then there's places where we feel unsafe because our ancestors felt unsafe there. And so our impulse is merely the response without any thought, without any real consciousness. It is unconscious, not subconscious, but unconscious. It is our genetics finding ways to express itself. And so a lot of times you may have a certain level of anxiety in a situation that has nothing to do with how you was raised, has nothing to do with what you experienced, but has everything to do with what your ancestors experienced in their life. It was passed down to you. It was passed down to you. And so even though you didn't experience the actual event, your body believes that it has, and it expresses that experience through impulses. So, because impulses, all impulses are not yours, somebody needs to write that down. All impulses are not yours. Some of these impulses are genetics. Some of these impulses were passed down to you. All impulses are not yours. Watch this. All emotions are not yours. Somebody write this down. All emotions are not yours. Some of the things that you feel has to do with your family history, and it also has to do with the energy of those around you. All emotions are not yours, right? But every emotion you feel is your responsibility. With that being said, some instincts are not yours. They belong to the past and they're manifesting in the present. So from the perspective of you're dealing with it, then they're yours. But from the perspective of origin, they're not yours. They were passed down to you. It did not start with you. Mm. Mm. And so the reason why now we don't want to give into our emotions, the reason why we might find ourselves acting foolish is because emotions don't always consider context. So when someone triggers you, listen to me. I need y'all to get this. When someone triggers you, the moment that you're triggered, that is the moment that you stop considering your environment. I need you to hear what I'm saying. The moment you're triggered, you emotionally are projected into the space that originally hurt you. You start to treat the person currently as if they were the previous offender. You start to bleed on people who didn't cut you. You start to lash out on people who did not attack you. The moment that you're triggered, you will find yourself so irrational that you either are saying the most meanest things, or you find yourself over delivering. Diarrhea of the mouth is how some of us call it. You would even find yourself contradicting yourself because you're trying to protect yourself. And so you'll say whatever you have to say to not look stupid, to not feel stupid. Whatever you got to say and do, you're going to do it to try to bring yourself back to safety. That's what happens when you get triggered. And so many of us, we don't realize that we're being triggered by the most minorest of things. We find ourselves being triggered, and now we're interacting with people from a triggered space, and we're trying to figure out why our friendships are in jeopardy, why our relationships are in jeopardy, why our business is in jeopardy, why our family is in jeopardy. We're trying to figure out why it seems like we can't get along with people, and it's because you are consistently operating from a place of trigger. And once you're triggered, you're no longer present. The moment that you're triggered, you're no longer present. Now, is something wrong with you because you're triggered? No, there's nothing wrong with you. It's normal. It's natural even to have triggers. If you have a past and you also have a trigger, what you need to do is acknowledge what those triggers are. What are the words that when you hear those words, you get triggered? What are the phrases? What's the music? What's the space environment? Maybe it's parties or even churches. What is it that triggers you? It's your responsibility to determine or to distinguish, to recognize, to discern what your triggers are. It is nobody else's responsibility to figure out your triggers. Not your boo thing, not your children, not your teachers, not your boss, not your employers, not your employees, not your parents. It's nobody's responsibility to figure out your triggers. That's your responsibility. Your triggers, they're your responsibility. These are now your emotions that you're processing. It's your responsibility. And I think for a lot of adults, they expect the world to tiptoe around their triggers so that they can feel more comfortable in whatever space they're in. But the reality is, don't nobody gotta tiptoe around your triggers. Can I be honest with you? It's a level of entitlement to think that it is the world's responsibility to make sure that they don't trigger you. Who do you think you are that the world has to figure out what ticks you off and avoid that? How special do you think the world considers you? And I think the problem is because we know that we're special in God's eyes, somehow we convinced ourselves that we're also special in the world's eyes, but the world don't know you, nor do they owe you anything. Let's go. Let's go. And I'm talking about strangers. See, if you have a friend, there's a friend, if you're in relationship with somebody, then yes, they will learn your triggers and they will navigate accordingly. But if you're in the workspace, if you're in the public area, people don't know you. Why would you expect for them to tiptoe around your triggers? And here's the real issue. Now, let's really hit the nail in the head. The issue is when you get triggered, you call it an offense. When you get triggered, you say you were attacked. When you get triggered, you say they was coming for you. But wasn't nobody coming for you? You just got emotionally triggered and you haven't developed the tools to deal with those triggers. And so now you make everybody around you the bad person, when in reality, you have been negligent in dealing with your emotional health. So you walk around here like a child, not like an adult. So yes, is it okay to get triggered? Yeah, we all have our triggers. If you have a past, you have a trigger. But it's your responsibility to determine what those triggers are. Because if you put your trust in your emotions, you will be foolish. You will find yourself making bigger and greater mistakes because your emotions are not bad, but they're bad leaders. So the scriptures suggest, instead of allowing your emotions to lead, that you should lean more on wisdom. Here we go. Wisdom being the solution to emotions. Wisdom being the solution in leadership. Wisdom being the solution in lifestyle. And so the scripture says, but those who walk in wisdom, those who are living a wise life. And this is so important because a lot of us, especially in this generation, we get comfortable with getting wise words, even if we're not going to walk those words out. For some of us, just to sound wise is good enough. For some of us, just to listen to wise counsel is good enough. But for many of us, we don't take the wisdom and actually apply it into our lives. And so because we're not applying the wisdom into our lives, we find ourselves continuing to be foolish in our lifestyle. And then when something arises, we're trying to figure out why we can't be wise in this situation. That's because you have not been wise in your spirit and your lifestyle. Let me tell you, wisdom is not a switch that you turn on and off. Come on, somebody. You can't pick and choose when you're going to be wise. See, wisdom is a state of consciousness. So what is wisdom? What is wisdom? Let's deal with this. Wisdom is applied knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is information based off of observation and other people's testimonies. And so when you get knowledge, you want to apply that knowledge. How does this fit in my life? How do I work this thing in my life? When you apply the knowledge, that's when you're walking in wisdom, right? So Proverbs says, so in the beginning of Proverbs, it says, observe the ant, learn from the ant. Why does it say that? Because when you learn from the ant, there are things that you can then apply into your life so that you can be successful. The work ethic of the ant, the organization of the ant, the infrastructure of the colonies. There's so much that you can learn. And so when you get that knowledge, you then apply that knowledge, and that's wisdom. So wisdom is applied knowledge. You have to know something. So this is why we read books. This is why we listen to our elders. Also why we listen to our children. This is why we observe our surroundings so that we can get the necessary knowledge. And out of all that knowledge, we will apply those things, and that's walking in wisdom. Wisdom is also built off of observation. So when you apply certain things, you want to see how it works and how it does not work. Wisdom is about observation, applied knowledge, but also about observation. So when you recognize that when I do this, when I apply this in this way, this is the response that I get. Now you make the determination if you want to continue to apply said knowledge in that way, or if you want to find another route. That is wisdom. And so when your emotions start going crazy, you want to breathe, count to 10, hold your breath, sing a song, whatever you got to do. You want to get out of your emotions just enough to activate wisdom and to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is how I'm feeling. What is the wisest way to navigate my current position? That is how you get delivered. Delivered from what? Delivered from foolishness that would arise from giving into your emotions. Wisdom is deliverance from the foolishness that would come from you giving into your emotions. And so you breathe and you think and you meditate and you consider, what should I do to get out? What's the wisest? Forget about the best, the wisest. Meaning, what can I do so that I can ensure that I am living the life I want to live? I'm getting the outcome that I want to get. That is wisdom. And so, brothers and sisters, I encourage you to go to therapy. Let's talk a little bit about how you can get your emotions in check. You want to go to therapy, you want to go to a counselor, you want to talk to a life consultant like myself. You want to get professional help. If you find yourself impulsive, consistently impulsive, because we all have our moments. We all have our moments. But if you realize that impulsiveness is a lifestyle for you, then you want to get professional help. And you want to be open to the counsel that you receive from said professional help. I think that is probably so vital because so many of us, when we go get that help, we don't listen. Can we just be honest for a little bit? We don't like to hear what they have to tell us. So a lot of times we find ourselves defending our foolishness instead of being delivered from it. So you want to be open to the professional help. Consider that they might know what they're talking about. And if you are sure, because you considered everything, that they don't know what they're talking about, that is when you go find another professional. But you don't quit on getting the help that you need. You need this help. So go get it. You want to read books specifically that talk about who you are as a human. Read books about habits. Read books about the subconscious. Grow in knowledge so that you can know how to deal with yourself. So when those emotions arise, you don't find yourself going crazy. You'd be a fool if you think, I don't feel emotions. Some of the stuff that y'all say on social media, it gets you like, what? And I be ready, but then I stop, I pause, I think, and then I respond according to wisdom. Wisdom. I've been in people's presence and they say something crazy and stuff that make you want to slap them, but you can't slap them. You can't put your hands on them. I stop, I breathe, I consider a wiser approach. Brothers and sisters, wisdom is your friend. And if you walk in wisdom, if you move in wisdom, you'll find yourself delivered from the foolishness of your emotions. You can't keep giving into your emotions and expect to be a functional adult. Now, I can go deeper in this, but I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here because, one, I don't want to overwhelm you. And two, I want to give you time to just process what was just said. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pray. I'm going to release you. And I really want you to take time in your own space to consider if you have your emotions in check. And if you know that you don't, if you already know that you don't even need no time to think about it. You already know I don't got it. Then I want to ask you, what are you going to do to get better? What's your plan to get a handle on it? And I strongly urge you to make a plan. You're snapping on your kids. You're snapping on your wife. You're snapping on your husband. Go get some help. You're ruining relationships because you refuse to get help for your emotions. Go get some help. It's okay. I promise you, it's okay. You're not less than. It's okay. All right, let's pray. Father in heaven, I'm so grateful that you at least given us some counsel. I'm glad that wisdom will help us, will deliver us from the foolishness of our emotions. Oh, Lord, just help us. Help us to really understand that, believe that, give us evidence if we need some, that we may move wisely and not emotionally. Lord, help us to fight against the temptation to just reject this because we enjoy being emotional, but help us to really recognize that if we keep following our emotions, we'll find ourselves in foolish situations. Cement that in our spirit, I ask in the name of the Messiah. Amen. Listen, y'all, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Listen, if you need some help, then I need you to go to my website, www.lawrencefront.com. And I need you to find the button that says one-on-one consultation. Book your consultation with me. And let me help you navigate through some of these things. This is what I do. All right? If it's not me, find somebody. But talk to somebody if you realize you need some help. Otherwise, you continue to be blessed. Peace.